boy, run around with street gangs, and after I got to playing music, well, all this here bad stuff got in my mind, you know, and I got interest playing music. And so my first guitar that ever brought, I brought from Sears and Roebuck. I paid $1 down and 50 cents a week.
Blues America, like cornbread and chili.
Doggy.
Damn, that's good.
This is Oscar Wilson, Mr. 43rd Street, Chicago, Illinois, and you're listening to Blues America.
Well, now help me, pretty mama, help me to stay inspired. Well, the world's in a tangle, man, it's hard to stay inspired.
Out of the Frying Pan in the Music Bed by today's special guest, Sugar Brown, and that's from his new album. We just heard the Blues People soundbite that features the voice of the late great Earl Hooker. Sugar Brown, you just heard the old man talking about the blues, and he was being a street gangster. I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is your definition of the blues?
Well, I have a couple ways to think about it. One, I think of it as a form of, folk music that really was developed in the United States, in the South, in the black communities, which is a form of music that has, some connections to African music as well as to jazz music. But another way to look at it is that it's also, in some ways, it's a genre that was partially invented by a record company, And, for example, RCA Victor and their efforts to make what they called race music, and they put the blues in that field. And, so if you look at the history of RCA Victor, for example, and it's marketing of race music, and that also accompanies the kind of dissemination of the genre of blues music, then you get to see that the blues as a category or as a genre is also, it's also related to the kind of marketing of these big record companies. And that's really important to mention because, I agree that blues is a feeling in general, and it's an emotion, but at the same time, it's something that in some ways has been fabricated by the record companies to sell records. And so, I just feel that the conversations about the origins of the blues or what is the blues often tends to get very abstract, and it can get very metaphysical and very abstract, like, a feeling or emotions. But a concrete way to think about it is that it's also related to the history of marketing of music. And the implication for that is very deep and vast, because the way RCA Victor went about doing it was they would go down to the South and they wanted to record what they called local music. And they also had a kind of racializing worldview. So they said, okay, we got to get music for black people. And what do they want to hear? They want to hear blues music. So we got to get musicians who are black to make blues music. And they basically coded the genre of blues as black music. And they would go to people like Johnny Shines or Robert Johnson, and these guys could play any kind of music. And then the musicians, when they realize that they can make money that way, then they kind of internalize that representation of a genre through racial lens and try to embody that, that's where we get the idea that blues is only black music and country is only white. From that point onward, it becomes really segregated, I would say, you know, and very specifically using that word, like the music, the genres become segregated in the same way that the social conditions in society were also becoming segregated.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you should be a professor. Go to school and get one of those PhD thingies. What about the African American experience? You know, the downtrodden, the poor, the sick, the hungry, the powerless. And here's an invention that provides a voice to the voiceless to express their experience, the black experience in America.
Right. Well, I accept that too on so many levels. You know, I really do believe that. I mean, it's like a miracle. You know, I mean that a music could have been, you know, such a beautiful music could have come out, but you know, when we think about that part of it, which is also so important, you know, the kind of hopeless situation that so many black communities were living in that situation. And it's almost as if, you know, that kind of beauty could only have come out of such a hopeless situation, you know. And that's I think the power and the sense of freedom that we get when we listen to blues, even though we don't always think about it like that. But you know, it's really about the kind of drive for a liberation from horribly oppressive, racist such conditions, you know. And out of that comes this incredible music. So,
yeah, certainly. You talked about your days in Chicago, and during a time when so many of our legends were still living and around to see and still working the scene. So I imagine you must have gotten some pretty good advice about music and life.
Well, with Tail Dragger, it was the one thing that really stands out in my mind is he would always say, "Take your time." I mean, I think everyone who knows Tail Dragger knows that he says that. But for me, it really helped me be a better player, because especially when I was just so young, 18, 19, 20, I was very eager to play and wanted to prove myself and so on. And usually when that happens, you play too much, or you play too fast, or you don't listen. And so when he would say, "Take your time," you know, he would always tell that to me when he could, looking back, you know, when he would perhaps say that when he would sense that I was rushing or trying to do too many things and trying to think about it too much, you know, instead of just enjoying the moment of the music and letting the kind of expressions on whatever instrument come out in a manner that wasn't, you know, rushed and hurrying to impress everyone. You know, it was more just about slow everything down, you know, I mean, and really experience that music as a time out, you know, as a time out from the madness and the tedium of our everyday lives. So that was, for me, probably the best piece of advice I ever got.
All right. Well, Sugar Brown, congratulations on this beautiful new record. I think it's probably your best one. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today and allowing us to share your story to people in their homes and cars. And hope to see you out there, out on the road or in the blues circles.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's really, really encouraging and very, very encouraging to me. And I hope we cross paths too.
All right, thanks. And for the listeners, the Way, Way Back Blues with Peanut the Kidnapper. That's coming up next. Don't want to miss it.
Blues America is endorsed by the Phoenix Blues Society. Learn how to become a member at phoenixblues.org.
I'm John Primer.
And I'm Bob Cortor.
You listen to Blues America.
What we're going to do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
It's time to go back, baby. Way, way back. This is the Way Back Blues.
Now the head look lonesome, come back up to my door. Now the head look lonesome, come back up to my door. And I'm sorry to tell you people, well, but I don't live there no more. Now you can dig my grave with a silver spade. And I dig my grave with a silver spade. You know you may lead me down, well, with a silver chain. I want my baby to see when he put that in my face. And I want my baby to see when he threw that in my face. Then I won't have to tell her, well, someone else can take my place. I want her to see me now on my last go round. And I want her to see me on my last go round. And I know she's gonna hear mighty rumbling, ooh, my pal deep down in the ground. Goodbye, everybody. That is all I have to say. Well, now goodbye. That is all I have to say. 'Cause they're gonna lay me down easy. Ooh, my pal, 6 feet in the cold, cold clay.
That's the Way Back Blues with unknown pre-war blues singer James Sherrill, who recorded under the strangest moniker, Peanut the Kidnapper. Yes, Peanut the Kidnapper. Back in good old 1937, the song Silver Spade was one of a handful of songs he cut for Arc Records, including one song called Suicide Blues. But his singing technique and tone is pretty much the same on each song. We assume he's from Alabama, and most interesting fact about his work is that he's accompanied by the legendary pre-war blues master Robert McCoy. He performs on piano. But that's pretty much all we know, except for that he likes peanuts and he must kidnap kids. Hopefully this wasn't really the case, but his music is recommended for any curious blues fans. This is Where the Blues Talks, a little program recorded weekly at the Chico Chisholm Memorial Studio in Phoenix. I've been your host, Drew Verbis. I'd like to thank my wonderful guests, the great Sugar Brown. And as always, links to today's special guests is posted at our website, bluesamerica.com. Thanks to all the fine community radio stations for supporting the blues, and all of you who are listening, be a patriot and support Blues America. Bye.
We'll travel. More Blues America next week.
Blues America, America.
Promotional consideration for Blues America is provided by the Southwest Musical Arts Foundation, the Phoenix Blues Society, Record High Vinyl, the Rhythm Room Concert Club, Mojo Hand Blues Art Apparel, and the listeners of Public Radio.